Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Creamsicle Chronicle podcast. My name is JT Olson. With me, and I feel like I can say this confidently now,
Yeah.
as always,
Huh.
is Garrett Ballard.
Yes, sir. Good to be
Garrett, how you
back.
doing?
I'm good, man. Ready to talk about some mock drafts. We got some good ones, I think, some names that we haven't really mentioned before, that we're gonna try and convince y'all are good options.
Yeah, we're really in the thick of the off season now.
Yep.
Combine is next week. We're past the Senior Bowl. We're getting ready for free agency. It's time, It's that best time of the off season, kind of leading up to everything.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's really getting into the kick of things. We had the salary cap was announced today. Free agency starts in 2 weeks, I think. Um, we're kicking it into high gear, and things are really getting exciting.
Yeah, you mentioned the salary cap.
Yeah.
It was released today. $30 million increase, more than expected.
Yeah.
Surprised?
I am. I mean, all the projections were like 245 million, right? I want to say, or like around that 240 to 245 million dollar range, and it ended up coming pretty much like 10 million over that, 10 to 12 million over that at 200. What is it? 256 and change.
I should have pulled up the exact number before we
It's all
started.
right. I'm pretty sure it's like 255 or 256 and change, which is substantial, right? I mean, we coming into the offseason, we felt pretty confident and comfortable that the Bucs would be able to maneuver their way with whatever cap they were given, understanding that they were positive this year. And this just further solidifies those feelings. I mean, it provides some validation to know that the Bucs are going to be able to do some things that um, we hope them we hope that they would be able to do, and it's going to be easier now. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and people have said, and I've already heard it. This is going to give the Bucks more money, but it's going to give every other team more money. So
Yeah.
you won't be able to outbid teams just because you have more money. But I really do think it gives the Bucks that financial security to be able to pay all their guys and bring them back. Because none of these guys, I think, are looking to break the bank. That's never been Mike Evans' MO. Baker Mayfield, he's kind of bounced around. He wants security, but not to reset the market by any means. Antoine Winfield Jr. was probably going to set the market regardless. So
Yeah.
I think it gives the Bucks that nice little cushion to where they can feel comfortable bringing everyone back, maybe sprinkling in a couple additions on free agency. I think it really does them a lot of good to have that extra flexibility there.
100%. I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about a group of guys who want to stay in Tampa, right? Like, it's not like this would be a different story if Mike Evans has been trying to force his way to Houston for the year, right? I get he was at a Rockets game. He's from there. I don't really care. Doesn't really matter to me. All I know is that he's played his entire career in Tampa. He's mentioned he wants to be back in Tampa. And same thing with Baker Mayfield. He wants to be back in Tampa. Winfield's going to be back no matter what because they can still just franchise tag him. Um, and the money, you can't really worry about what other teams are going to be doing. You have to worry about what you can do and what your team is going to be capable of doing. And we know how talented the Bucs front office is and how good they are with the cap. Mike Greenberg has done a fantastic job in the past, especially this last year, maneuvering it. And there's no part of me that thinks that they aren't going to give themselves the best chance to keep the guys they want and maybe pick up another addition or two, like you said.
Yeah, this is in no way a Josh Allen situation where you expect him to kind of set the market, or Brian Burns, where this is his first big payday and he wants to break the
Right.
bank.
Right.
Josh Jacobs has been trying to get out of Las Vegas for at least a year. It feels like longer.
Yeah.
You said it. These guys all want to be back. The chemistry in the room is great. The culture is great. And if they're all back, the expectation is going to be returning to the playoffs and trying to make another push.
Yep.
That I think that makes a huge difference in what the Bucks have going on compared to other teams. Say, I don't know, the Rams or the Cowboys or whatever team you want to throw out there.
Yeah. I mean, player acquisition is the name of the game in football, and growing your team to becoming that playoff and Super Bowl caliber roster. And the first step is free agency, right? There's a reason it comes before the draft. Um, the legal tampering period opens on the 11th. We're going to know, I think it's the 11th, maybe it's the 10th, but we're going to know who likes who might end up where. When it really opens the floodgates, we know how it goes. It just goes. And then not much after that, you got the draft. But I think the first step of all of it is this cap reveal. The teams, we can say like the media is shocked by it and all that. The teams have been preparing for this for months. They're going to have a better understanding and a better projection than media, right? Um, so we could be stunned by it, but I highly doubt Jason Light is like, wow, we have more money now, right? Like this is not something that is news to them probably, and I'm sure they've been preparing for it for a good bit now and have just needed it to become official.
Sure, and there are few teams who balance their books better than the Bucs, if any. They're among the best in the NFL in managing their own salary cap. Mike Greenberg, he makes it all possible.
Yeah,
So, and he doesn't do it the way the Saints do it, where they just restructure a guy, they kick the can down the road. They just did that again today with Derek Carr. They're
yeah,
just going to have heaps of dead money forever, it feels like.
yeah. I mean, that is what it feels like. You're right.
I saw the gif. How do they keep getting away with it? Every year the Saints do it again. And
Truly,
the day of reckoning is coming for them, but
it's
every
gonna
year they
come.
kick it down the road.
Yep.
All right. So the big event on the horizon is the NFL Combine.
Mm.
We can touch a little bit on some of the prospects we're watching a little later on. But before the Combine, we have to get it out there, our pre-Combine mock drafts.
Yep.
For everyone listening, Garrett and I, independently, we both made our own mock drafts. We had the freedom to do trades. We both used our simulator of choice, so there will be some inconsistencies on who is available, who is not, which
Yep.
is good because GMs run very different draft boards. There's a ton of unexpected moves and picks throughout the draft. So him looking at a different board than what I'm looking at, I think that only makes it more chaotic and more realistic.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I mean, the draft is never predictable. We all know that. It can go any which way whenever. Um, and we try to echo that in our mock drafts, right? Nothing's going to be the same anytime you do it. So we'll see what we got.
Hey, Christopher Cole, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate
Yeah,
you. All right. So, Garrett, I want you to kick us off. Your
sure.
mock draft, your first overall pick 26. What'd you do?
I traded down, JT.
So, not pick 26.
Not pick 26. I traded down to pick 33. First pick of the second round. Very similar to what we did a couple years ago when we got Logan Hall.
Yeah, you're making me nervous with that comparison. Did not work out well.
It didn't, but hey, new year, new draft, no players the same, especially when it's a different position. I went with at pick 33. By the way, I also picked up pick 141.
Is that a fifth rounder?
It's a fourth, I think.
Or even better.
Yeah.
Bucs are lacking a fifth rounder, and Jason Light wants to recuperate that.
Yeah. It's either a late fourth or a early fifth, if I'm correct. But yeah, I picked up 141 and 33 in exchange for 26. Moved back, what is that, seven slots. And then I picked Darius Robinson, edge rusher from Missouri. This is a guy I've spoken about in the past. Someone that I'm a big fan of, got really long arms, really strong, good run defender, kind of shades of Yaya Diaby. But I think his upside's much higher. I think he's got really violent hands and a mean, the length is serious with him. I'm a big fan of Darius Robinson and what he can bring to a team. I was aiming for a center with that first pick, and Jackson Powers Johnson got picked not too much before, so I was like, I feel like this might be a little bit early. for Robinson, but I still want to secure an edge rusher early because it drops off pretty heavily. So I didn't trade down too far, and I got who I wanted there. So
Yeah, you mentioned the length of Darius Robertson.
yeah,
Not just the length, but the freaking bulk on that dude.
yeah, he's big.
He's what, 285? I think he measured in at the Senior Bowl.
He's large. He's large. I'm also like I think he stood up a good bit at Missouri also, so he can do it. But he could. This is someone with positional flexibility. He can kick inside if you need. And we know Todd Bowles loves to mix up his defensive fronts. So
Yeah, he played on the edge last year at Missouri, very productive as a pass rusher, and he
yep,
can play out of that 2-point stance as kind of that outside linebacker that Todd Bowles wants to use.
yep,
Before that in his career, he was a defensive tackle. So, yeah, he's played inside, he's played outside, he's played both well. He's an absolute chess piece, and I do think he's going to be a first-round pick when it's all said and
yep.
done.
I do too. If not first, like right where I'm at, like 33, he'll go in the top 30, like top 40 picks for sure.
I think after next week, he's going to be a lock for the first.
I think I'm with you.
And for anyone who hasn't seen this guy, look him up. Look up his interviews. He looks like an anime character. Dude
He's
is
big.
jacked,
He's big.
unbelievably ripped, like a
Yep.
first guy off the bus kind of dude.
Oh yeah.
So I really like it. Edge rusher, big position of need. He can also kind of sub in with Logan Hall, who I'm not in love with. So
Yeah.
put his hand in the dirt, be a down pass rusher, let Yaya be the outside linebacker. He can play outside. Got guys coming from both ends. I like it.
Yeah, and just I want to emphasize one more thing is like center and edge rusher are very top heavy this year. Um, so addressing those early is something I expect the Bucs to do. And I think JT feels the same way. Whether that I shouldn't say center, interior offensive line, and then edge. The guard position, just interior as a whole, is pretty top heavy in my opinion. So I made sure to grab those guys early in mine.
Yeah, I think we'll have a trend there. You and I both hit those positions early.
Yeah, yeah.
I did
What's
not
your
go.
first pick? Yeah,
I did not go pass rusher with my first pick.
that's all right.
I went the other way. I went interior offensive line. They're both trenches, but the closer you get towards the football, the closer is where you'll find my heart.
Yep.
So I went with an interior offensive lineman.
Yep.
And I did not go Jackson Powers Johnson, who I love. I think he's going to be high in the Bucs board. I don't know that he'll be there at 26.
There are a lot of teams who need a center who pick above the Bucs.
There are. But there is one player who was available who projects to guard. And I think he's going to be even better than Jackson Powers Johnson. I have him higher on my draft board. That's Troy Fontenot from Washington.
Yeah.
Do you know is it Fontenot or is it Fatanu?
I think it's Fatanu.
Troy Fatanu.
Fatanu, yeah.
Yeah, so many times I see these names written now and I watch them play. I don't have any sound with that, so
It's all right.
But Troy Fatanu, left tackle, Washington. Jason Light loves to grab left tackles, convert them to interior offensive line. Pet, Alex Kappa, tried it with Luke Gedicke, Robert Hainsey. That's kind of his blueprint. Even Ryan Jensen, he played tackle in college.
Yeah.
So he's going to get that tackle, convert him inside. I think he projects much better as a guard than a tackle. So I think that's going to be a very natural transition for whoever drafts him.
Right.
One, super mobile, super athletic. Dude gets into space. He's explosive. I saw a clip of him doing a cut block from like 2 yards away, and he just absolutely sent that lineman flying through the air because you don't expect him to get out that far that fast.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. His movement and his just his ability to hit his spots is pretty impressive. His pass pro is really top notch.
It is. For a guy moving inside, he's going to be one of the most effortless, fluid movers who can mirror pass rushers we're going to see in the game.
Yeah.
I really think he's got Pro Bowl, All-Pro potential there.
Yeah, I mean I think he could play tackle in the NFL, right? But I think he could really shine at guard. you kick him inside. He measured in with 32.5-inch arms at the Senior Bowl, so he's just below the threshold of where NFL teams would like to see him for a tackle in terms of arm length. But I mean, if you turn on the tape and you didn't ask, hey, what's this guy's arm length? You see that the tackle ability and how quickly he can move and how well he keeps guys at the outer reaches of his arms. He's got a great feel for the game and how he approaches attacking edge rushers and shutting down what they are bringing to him. So he's a dominant player, that's for sure.
And if you just look at him, his aesthetic is perfect. He's got his shirt half rolled up, his belly hanging out. You look at his face, he looks mad all the time. He plays with the anger that you want on the offensive line.
Absolutely. I mean, do you see him sticking on the left side there, going to left guard?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't want to move Mock. He's already, Fatanu's already comfortable on the left side. Let's keep it.
Yep, I'm with you. Put him right next to Tristan Wirfs. Maybe grab a center in free agency. I don't really know who's available yet. I should have.
Shout out Lloyd Cushenberry. Come home.
Come home. Yeah. There you go. But that's a great pick. I'm a big fan of that one for sure.
All right, moving right along to round 2.
Yeah.
Garrett, who you got?
My pick is another interior offensive lineman. Zach Frazier's off the board in this instance. But I don't really feel like Cedric Van Pran is the type of center that this team's going to look for. Like him as a player, solid player, but I just don't think he's going to fit what the Bucs are looking for on the offensive line. So I looked over to guard and I said, hey, that works. And I drafted Cooper Beebe, I think it is, out of Kansas State.
The BB gun.
Yeah, he is strong, man. He's a bulldozer. You're not going to move him. And I mean that. I mean, you work into this guy's frame and he's keeping you there. He's not getting pushed back. He's not getting tossed around. He is holding you right there. Not holding, but like keeping you in front of him, and you're not getting to the quarterback.
I think he's listed 6'4", 335. So he's an
a tank. Yeah. He's a tank.
And I know he's a good pass blocker.
Yeah.
I don't know how many sacks he allowed in college. Maybe 1.
Yeah.
It's a low number.
Yeah. And I want to say a lot of times when you say like, oh, good pass blocker, people think he's like a finesse guy. The dude can pull on a run, right? Like he is a bulldozer. He'll run. He's he's an offensive lineman, but he's got solid movement for his size and what his skill set is. And he'll, like I said, he'll run you over, he'll pave a path, and he'll allow the running back that I'm drafted later in this draft to get those dirty yards for sure.
Forget running. He could stand there, pick up a defensive tackle, and throw him. This guy wins the point of attack.
Absolutely, man. He's a butt kicker. That's it. I just saw. I was looking something up. Shout out Ryan Roberts. He said butt kicker for Cooper Beebe, and that's a great way of describing him.
Yeah, as strong and physical as a guard you're going to find in this draft.
Yep.
Love it. Big Cooper Beebe fan. Shout out to the entire Cooper Beebe family. I feel like anytime I post on him on Twitter, I've got like his dad or his mom or his aunt or someone liking something.
All right, JT, hit us with your second round pick.
All right, so you went edge rusher, guard. I went guard, edge rusher. My second pick is Austin Booker out of Kansas. Traditional powerhouse, Kansas,
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Austin Booker. I did a little bit of research when you brought his name up and when we were exchanging mock drafts to make notes. So tell me about him. Tell me what there's to like. I know the rough breakdown, but
so Austin Booker got on my radar at the Senior Bowl. I hadn't really seen anything of him before then.
Yep.
One, he's got great length. He's 6'6". He's a little lean looking, but he plays with more power than you expect because he has really good hands.
Right.
He gets the chest of his opponent, and he can hold the point of attack better than you expect. But he is skilled with his hands, and he is bendy. He wants to go around you. He wants to counter back in. He's got a bunch of moves. And I think some people are a little bit scared away because he only has 1 year of production. He transferred to
Right.
Kansas this year after not playing for 2 seasons at Minnesota. He just couldn't get any playing time.
Sure.
So he's a 1 year wonder, but he had 8 sacks last year for Kansas. And I see all the tools, I see the hand usage, I see the game. Everything I'm looking for that translates. I really like with Austin Booker. Would I like him to be a little bit thicker? Sure. But he's lean but strong. Lean muscle.
Do you I want to ask you a quick question. Do you envision him as like a I know on a previous episode we talked about, the timeline for this team of when we think they could be Super Bowl contenders again. What do you think the timeline for Austin Booker is in terms of hitting what the Bucs would see him as and in fitting in with their timeline?
I think he can come and contribute right away. I think
There
he
you
can
go.
win the other edge job over JTS because he's much better with his hands than JTS. Probably
Yeah.
not quite the athlete, but he's a good athlete.
Yeah.
Maybe a very good athlete. I think we're going to know a lot more about him at the combine. But I think he's one of those guys who's rising up draft boards. Right now, he was projected as like a mid-90s prospect on the draft board I was looking at when I did this. I think he's going to go in the second round.
Yeah. If there's one thing that the Buccaneers prioritize early in the draft, it is athleticism. We've seen it year in, year out, but that said, they're not necessarily afraid to take it. They're not going to draft a bad athlete early, I'll say that, but they're not necessarily afraid to dip down into, like, I'm talking RAS here, right?
Shout out Kentley Platt.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up. I'm literally pulling it up right now. I'm gonna scroll through this. I'm gonna share my screen here if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. Can you see it?
Yes.
Perfect. Look at that. So this is Kentley Platt, MathBomb at MathBomb on Twitter. He does some awesome athletic stuff. Gives a relative athletic score for every player that does a combine or a pro day in relation to their height, weight, position. Provides some really awesome context for how they're testing. This was their last year's draft class. You see those top 3 picks, elite athletes, right? Then you get down into the mid rounds, and they're, like I said, they're dipping down into the average range, but still not bad. There's the one bad athlete, which I think everyone would probably agree was the weird pick of the draft, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see the correlation, and then to go to the year before, couple odd ones, but Logan Hall, elite athlete. Rashad White, elite athlete. Luke Gadecki, he might not have had testing numbers, but we knew he could play. We knew he could run, right?
We knew he was a really good athlete.
Yeah.
He was hurt for the combine, but he was a great athlete in college.
Yeah, he was a mover. Like, you could see it on tape. Jake Camarda ran like a 4.4. Zion McCollum, like one of the best cornerbacks in terms of athleticism of all time. That's a 10. That doesn't really happen that much. And then you look at the last 2 picks. Andre Anthony, I don't think is with the team anymore, and Kokieft, they drafted him as a blocker, of course.
And he's listed there as a tight end because these scores are relative to position. He's really more of a fullback.
Yeah, correct. And then the year before that, again, Joe Tryanchenko, elite athlete. Robert Hainsey, elite athlete. I don't really take quarterbacks into effect. There's very few quarterbacks that test like elite athletes. A lot of them are in that yellow range, but I don't think athleticism's the big thing you're looking at for a quarterback of especially Kyle Trask's skill set. And then, Jalen Darden, you'd think, yeah, he was pretty quick. He was, he didn't blow anything out of the water, though, for his size. He was a pretty small guy, so he would needed to test pretty well to get a green there. And then, KJ Britt's the shocker here, right? We saw this athleticism on tape, and we were like, I don't really see it translating, and he's just kind of really changed it around and proven us wrong, right? And then the last 2 are not with the Buccaneers anymore. And then the year before, Tristan Wirfs, elite athlete. Antoine Winfield. The Antoine Winfield pick is exactly what I wanted to highlight. Average upper ends of the average tier for an athlete, right? According to Kent Lee Platt here. But the tape spoke for itself there. If I guarantee you the Bucs went into that room saying, as long as he doesn't test horribly, we're going to draft him, right? So what I'm trying to say here is there might be a player who the Bucs love who might test not elite like they draft traditionally in the top rounds, but they take him anyway, right? And Austin Booker, like you said, might need to put on a little bit of weight, so his RAS might be a little bit off because of that. If they like him, they'll take him, right? Like they're not afraid to do it as long as he doesn't test terribly.
Yeah, and I don't think he'll test in that elite score. I do
Yeah.
think he'll be more of that 7 to 8 range in terms of his RAS.
Sure.
He's a plus athlete, but I don't see him as an elite athlete.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all right. Sorry for that little rant there, but I felt like that provided some pretty good context of how the Buccaneers look in the top couple rounds.
And it's something people need to be aware of going into the combine.
Yeah.
For when a guy like, say, Latu or
Yeah.
Latu,
Yeah.
he posts like a 5 RAS score. Everyone loves him. Everyone's projecting him to the Bucs. He fits a need. Probably won't happen if that's the case.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You are not wrong. Is it my turn? It is.
It is.
It is. Oh gosh, I forgot my pick.
Third round.
No, I didn't. Yeah, there's one position that, there's been a lot of talk of that I don't really see the people targeting for the Bucs early, and that is linebacker. I might just be looking at the wrong mock drafts, but I get Levante David's great, and we want him back. There's a chance he's not, right? And then we have KJ Britt and Servassier Dennis, and we haven't seen anything of Servassier Dennis, and KJ Britt had a great season, but who knows? Year 2 might hold something different for him in a starting role. You need to look at that position, and you need to look at it fast and see who's out there to fill in there, because the depth is shallow, and the top end might be leaving. So we assume Devin White's gone, and even if he's not, that's not like a surefire safe signing, right? Like that there's downside. There's very big downside. So the player I took, I think one of my favorite, no, 100% one of my favorite linebackers in this class is Junior Colson from Miami. He's not the biggest guy.
I believe that's Michigan.
Oh my gosh, I said Miami.
National champion Michigan Wolverines.
Brother, yes, Michigan. I am
Sorry,
tired right now.
It's a Go Blue podcast. I couldn't let it slide.
No, it is not. I'm trying to find his height weight, but I think he's like
245. He's a big, thickly built dude.
I thought I saw, maybe it was someone else that I was looking at. Junior Colson.
So his
247. You're right. I was wrong.
I don't remember his height. I don't think he's super tall.
I think he's like 6'2",
6'1",
6'2". Yeah. But anything you want a linebacker to do, he does it. He's fast. Look. If you're sitting here saying, "Man, I want Devin White for his big flashy plays, fill in the run," Junior Colson hits it, right? He's disciplined. He triggers downhill when he needs to. He doesn't over pursue. He's not over eager and tries to abandon his assignment too early. He knows what he's doing. He reads his keys and he reacts when he needs to, not when he wants to, when he feels like it. The other thing, coverage, which is becoming more and more important for a linebacker. Junior Colson in those short zones is tremendous. Let me look up the stats. I had them and I closed them on accident. That's my bad. Oh my gosh.
Well, while you're looking for those,
yeah,
one thing I want to highlight about Junior Colson, look at the coaches he's had to work with on the defensive side of the ball. Mike McDonald just took over as the Seahawks head coach after making that Baltimore defense one of the best in the NFL.
Yep.
Jesse Minter just followed Jim Harbaugh to be the defensive coordinator for the Chargers. So he had a great NFL defensive coordinator, now a head coach. and another NFL defensive coordinator the last 2 years, coaching him up and teaching him how to play
Yeah.
linebacker.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it helps when you have those good coaches to mold the talent, right? Junior Colson's stats didn't wow. He only had 2 passes defensed in 2023, but I'm telling you, he's sound in his coverage. He doesn't really give up. What's the word I'm looking for? Um, oh my gosh, he's not like he's not out of position, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, that'll
He's
be a nice change of pace.
Yeah, like I said, he's disciplined. He's got the prototypical size and the athleticism, right? Those are the big things with a linebacker. And honestly, this is one of my higher ranked linebackers in the class. I like him over the likes of like some guys like Edgerrin Cooper. For starters, I'm not a big Edgerrin Cooper fan. Uh, it's like Colson and Trotter up there for me. And I think I give the edge to Colson. I'm a big fan of him, and to get him in the 3rd round would be a home run in my book.
Yeah, for his size, I mean, 6'2", almost 250, he's really surprisingly fluid.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, you see those kind of numbers for his size, and you think he's a guy like KJ Britt. He's a tackle-to-tackle thumper. Not the case.
Yep.
Yeah. So I like that. I love the pedigree. University of Michigan national champion. I like it so much that I'm going to copy you and go to the same pool there.
Look at that.
I know it.
Not Junior Colson, though. He's not copying me completely.
No, I'm not going linebacker. I'm going for who, in my estimation, was the heart and soul of that defense. And that is cornerback Mikey Sanristil.
Yeah.
I don't know
if he had a year, man. He had a year.
He is an absolute dog. He's a little undersized, which I know Todd Bowles won't love. He's like 5'11", 180. But he projects to the nickel. He's not an outside guy. 2, he is as scrappy as they come. He is tough. Yeah. He is, if he can't hit you and knock you down, he will wrap you up and swing you around until someone comes to take your head off.
Yeah.
But that's not where he shines. He's a scrappy, gritty run defender, but he is a coverage corner. He has skills. He's very much like Antoine Winfield in how much of a playmaker he is. He can take the ball away with interceptions. He gets the punch in to try and force fumbles. He plays with a high level of intelligence, and he is so incredibly quick and twitchy and fluid. He is going to be such an upgrade at nickel in terms of coverage, and that'll allow Christian Izien to bump back to strong safety, where he'll be an upgrade in coverage to what we had there last year.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned it. He's a bit undersized, but when that's the case, you need to play with a high level of intelligence and ball skills and agility and all the things that make a DB good. You just have to do it better because you're smaller and your margin for error is much higher, right? And luckily for Sanristil he's really good at all the things that matter for a DB. The nickel restriction is going to knock him down a bit, which is why he's here in round 3. But if you're the Bucs who need a nickel, fits pretty well. Done it.
Yeah, I won't go as far to say as he's going to be this year's Brian Branch, because Brian Branch was a top 5 player of the draft for me last year.
Yeah.
But he's going to have a similar kind of fall, and he's going to outperform his draft stock in a similar kind of way.
Sure. Yeah, I'll back that.
Yeah, it's that nickel. People kind of get caught up on it. It's not an outside corner. How valuable is that? Nickel is a starting position for.
It is.
They play 70% of the reps a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean most teams do it. You got to have that extra DB on the field because of just how offenses have evolved, right? That said, it's my turn.
It is.
I will say Michigan got some pretty good football players. Coming up, we're into the 4th round now. I'm taking my homer pick here. Go Gators.
It's a
Take
Go Blue, Go Gators podcast.
Yes, sir. Taking wide receiver Ricky Pearsall with this pick. Um, I know that like a lot of people want Lad McConkey, but this wide receiver class is way deeper than the edge and interior offensive line classes. And if you don't draft one of those positions early where Lad McConkey would be getting selected, you're probably not going to get one, right? Free agency could change that, but right now, that's what I'm looking at, right? Those two need to take priority because wide receivers, you can find a lot of them, right? There's a lot of good ones, um, and they're easier to find than a good edge rusher or a premier center. So I waited a little bit for wide receiver, and I'm still very happy with the one I got. Ricky Pearsall showed out at the Senior Bowl. Um, he has great hands, really good route runner, release package off the line of scrimmage is great. He a lot of people are projecting him to slot, but I think he's got the toughness and the speed to flip outside every now and then. I know Chris Godwin and Liam Cohen, he said he's going to use him a lot in the slot, but um, switching up where everyone plays from might do a lot of good for everyone as well. So I think Pearsall is a really talented receiver um, with a lot of flexibility that can allow this team to give guys some rest, flip guys around, make defenses a bit confused, and overall be a better passing attack.
I absolutely agree with everything you just said. So much so, in a completely separate, undiscussed mock draft, I also took Ricky Pearsall with that pick.
Yeah.
And I think he's another one who kind of jumped out to me at the Senior Bowl because he was one of the three best receivers at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, he was balling.
It was Lad McConkey, who could go in the first round,
Yep.
Roman Wilson,
Yep.
and Ricky Pearsall.
Yep.
And he was carving people up. He was looking ready to step in and contribute as a rookie right away.
Yeah.
So,
Separation for days, man.
yeah, great feat. I was really
Yeah.
surprised with him. So he's one I had to go back and watch, and I really liked him. For a guy who I thought was, I thought Roman Wilson showed a little bit better at the Senior Bowl,
Sure.
but Roman Wilson's being mocked in the second round after the Senior Bowl.
Yep.
Pearsall still falling to the fourth. Love that value.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, I think he's going to test very well. I know for a fact he can jump out of the gym, and I think he's pretty fast too. I think he's going to end up being a day 2 pick, Pearsall. So that might change things, but for now, he's not.
Yeah, would love to grab him at this point.
That's why this is a pre-combine mock draft.
That's
Things
right.
are going to change when free agency happens. We'll probably do a pre-free agency, and that'll swap some things.
There's going to be a guy who blows up the combine next week that no one is talking about, and he's going to jump all the way to the top 50.
It might be Ricky Pearsall. I have a strong suspicion he's going to test really well.
All right, we'll review this tape next week.
Yeah, I hope I'm right because I really like Ricky Pearsall. I want him to do really well. The next player, Liam Cohen's very own, someone who rushed for 300 yards against my Florida Gators this year, Ray Davis, another guy we've talked about a lot. Someone that I'll probably mock him in every single draft that I do just because I think the fit is perfect. And I like him a lot as a player. There are some of these bigger backs who people are mocking really way too high for my liking, namely Braylon Allen and Audric Estime. I think if you want a guy who's going to go between the tackles and get you those scrappy yards, why not also get some lightning, right? I mean, Ray Davis has some speed, he keeps his legs churning, of course, and he gets those nitty gritty yards, but he can break one, I think Braylon Allen, I think he can too, but I think their skill set's a bit more limited than Ray Davis. I think Ray Davis offers more in the pass game as well. I like a lot of what Ray Davis can bring to the table, and especially spelling Rachaad White and not having him touch the ball 40 times a game.
I absolutely agree. In fact, I like Ray Davis better than I like Audric Estime. I was
Me
not
too,
impressed with him.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't. I like Ray Davis better than Braylon Allen too. If I'm being honest, I'm not a huge Braylon Allen guy.
And the two things that really separate Ray Davis from those two guys is one, Davis has juice. He's got legitimate
Yeah.
burst where those two
Yeah.
guys are like slow motion until they get up to top speed.
Yeah. And
And
the acceleration is not great with those two.
no, but it's good on Davis. I like it there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he
And
gets out of it.
he's a much better pass catcher. He can do more in the
Yeah.
passing game.
Yeah.
Super
That's
underrated part of his skill set.
very much so.
I think the only thing that stops Ray Davis from being mocked, where those guys are being mocked, is he's going to turn 25 years old as a rookie.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a downside for sure with any position other than quarterback, pretty much.
But you know what? In running backs, you want to draft them for their rookie contract, get all you can out of them, move on. So it doesn't matter if he's a 28-year-old free agent or a 25-year-old free agent. You get him,
Yep.
you use him, you go on to the next one.
Yep. And he doesn't have miles. Like he's 25 with limited mileage, right? His touches aren't crazy, so it's not like we're getting um, we'd be getting a guy like a. I know he's great, but like a Jonathan Taylor who had a million carries before he was drafted at 22. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely agree with everything you said. I do think he'll be available because of his age, but in the
Yep.
mocks that I ran a lot of simulations to try and get some consistency on who would be available. He was never available at this point in the draft for me.
What pick?
The 6th round pick.
Oh, this was the pick I got in the trade. Yeah.
Wow.
Before this, when I was running mocks, if I didn't pick him with that pick before where I picked Pearsall, he'd be gone by 203. So yeah, you're correct. I think his sweet spot's around like 130 to 150.
Yeah. Every simulation says he won't be there 6th round, so you got to get him 4th or 5th.
Yep.
So I had a similar line of thinking. This is where I want to draft a running back. Rashad White needs, a change ball to his fastball. So since Davis wasn't available, I went with one of the guys I really like, and that's Kimani Vidal,
Yeah.
running back out of Troy. He's a little bit similar mold, but kind of the discount version. He's
Yeah.
stout. He's a north and south runner. Doesn't have the same size and power. Doesn't have the same speed, but he can accelerate. He can find space, and he keeps the legs turning. So I think he can be a really solid depth running back in the NFL. I don't think he's much of a starter, but
Right.
I think for that change of pace guy, he's not a sledgehammer coming at you, but a regular hammer at high speeds can do some damage still.
Yeah, I think this is just like you take the Ray Davis pick and subtract a pretty good amount of carries per year, and that's what you get with Kamani Vidal. I think he just offers a bit less overall, even though the skill sets are similar. I think if they're really trying to get someone to take the load off Rashad White, they would look earlier. But like you said, skill sets very similar. So if they don't, this would be a good pick for that reason.
All right, coming close to the end. I think you have 3 picks left.
I have 2 picks left. I want you to go though, because I need you to explain this to me.
Okay, so I went with my first 7th round pick. I went with Rasheen Ali, running back out of Marshall.
Yeah.
And really, that's just kind of doubling up my odds that one of these two guys, whether it's Vidal or Marshall or Ali, is going to hit. At this point in the draft, you're kind of throwing darts. You're getting guys you like. Ali showed really well at the Senior Bowl. Unfortunately, he got injured, so he's not going to be ready until training camp to really do a lot of physical activity. But he was one of the more impressive backs at the Senior Bowl, and he's kind of that same north and south kind of runner. Probably has a little bit more physical gifts than Vidal. I don't think he's quite the pass catcher, but
yeah. I like Ali more than Vidal when they're healthy.
I like him as a ball carrier. I think more. I think Vidal's a little bit more versatile.
That's fine. The offense that the Bucs run though, those chances are limited, right? Those catching,
Yeah.
of course, it's important, but knowing how they attack, if they're going to take one of the two, I personally would prefer Vidal or sorry, Ali. Back-to-back running backs got my head twisted.
It's just one of those things where I like them both to a certain degree at this point in the draft. I'm throwing a dart. If
Yeah,
one of them hits, I don't care what happens to the other one.
sure. I mean, 6th and 7th round, that's what it is, right? It's not, people might go, oh, back-to-back running backs, what are we doing? But like, did you see like the late day 3 picks for Jason Light have never worked, right? Like none of them stay on the roster for more than a year. So um, these could be ones that do, is pretty much what it is.
Yep, and maybe one of them turns into Kyron Williams, who I think was a 6th-round pick. So
Yeah. Yep.
you
You
never
got it.
know. Probably not, but running backs, you can get
Give it a
great
shot.
value late in the draft.
Give it a shot. I'll go back to back here since I made you do that. My pick, 6th round, is Brevin Span Ford, a tight end from Minnesota. Very big person. I'm pretty sure he's like 6'7", 250 pounds. He's huge, right? I think what he kind of offers is a combination of the blocking ability that O'Keefe has. I don't think he's as good. O'Keefe is a very good blocker, but I think Brevin Spanford's good. And then the red zone threat and the pass catching that you want Payne Durham to bring. I think he kind of molds it into a somewhere in the middle, and can kind of shore up that position a bit.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucs need a tight end. I think K. Dotton is solid, but I'm not sold on Van Durham or Keefe as a pass catcher.
Yep.
So, kind of similar thought process. It's a dart. I really don't know anything about this guy. I haven't watched him yet. I will go watch him after this, but
Yeah.
You take a swing.
Sure. Yeah, he's like I said, take a swing. I think he's a pretty, for his size and what he brings, a good late round for sure. All right. I said I'd go back to back. My last pick is a safety, one that we need to shore up that depth. Akeem Dent from Florida State has been there for a long time, stuck it out in that offense or that defense after some really bad years. I think he was recruited by Jimbo Fisher, stayed committed, and played under Willie Taggart, and then didn't transfer and stuck it out through Mike Norvell and was there this last season. I think he's going to run pretty well. I think he's going to test overall as like one of the better safeties. Not going to the combine, unfortunately. But I think at his pro day, he's going to open a bit of some eyes and show that he probably should have been at the combine. I think he was one of those only Florida State starters who didn't get a combine invite, which is a bummer. But
well, it's a Division II program, so a lot of those guys won't do that. At least if you ask the playoff committee, that's what they'll tell you.
Of course, yeah, they got hosed. But he played a lot in the box. He's violent. He likes to hit. But he's got the speed to play on the back end as well. So I think he brings some versatility to that safety room, which is pretty depleted at this point.
Yeah, Bucs need a safety. They need someone to kind of fill that Jordan Whitehead void that's never really been filled. Ryan Neal didn't really do it last year.
He's not that level physical, but he's good enough for sure.
You know what? Jordan Whitehead wasn't that level physical when he came out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he bulked up, I felt like, with the Bucs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, this is one I haven't seen, so
we could see.
I'm open to it. It's a dart throw. It fits a need.
Yep.
As long as you got physical tools, I'm happy to take a swing at this point.
There you go. All right, round us out.
All right, my last pick. I said you got to have physical tools for me to take a swing on you.
Yeah.
Final pick was wide receiver Cornelius Johnson out of Michigan.
Yep.
And
tools.
He is speed and speed and speed.
Yeah, he's fast.
And I don't know if he's going to be any good. But if you give me speed, if I'm an NFL coach, I think I can make you good. So This is, again, this is a swing. Maybe a guy who can turn into a punt returner. He can maybe turn into just one of those guys who shows up once or twice a year, like a John Brown. He's just
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's his route tree was just run like straight and beat your guy, and he did a lot of the time. He's
Yeah.
really fast. Yeah, the limitations are glaring though.
Yeah, I'm not here to tell you that this pick is going to work, but I'm here to tell you he's fast enough to where it might
Yeah,
work.
he's fast enough where yeah, exactly, where he could make it work, where this staff could make it work. That's for sure. But yeah, I am going to round us out here by rereading both drafts, right? We're going to tweet both of them on the Creamsicle Chronicles Twitter account, which is at Creamsicle Crew, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, Crew with a K.
That's right, that which I'm told is the Tampa Bay spelling.
There you go. It is, of course. Creamsicle Crew on Twitter. Make sure you follow us there. You could check out these mock drafts. We got some graphics going up. Mine, first round, I traded down from 26 to 33 and picked up 141. I picked Darius Robinson, an edge rusher out of Missouri. I followed that up by drafting Cooper Beebe, an interior offensive lineman from Kansas State. Third round pick, I got Junior Colson, a linebacker from Michigan. In the fourth round, I got Ricky Pearsall, a wide receiver from Florida. With that pick I got from the trade down earlier, I picked Ray Davis, a running back from Kentucky. I picked Brevin Spann Ford, a tight end from Minnesota in the sixth. Or is that's a sixth, right?
Yes, we have 2 7ths and a 6.
Okay, whatever. I'm not even going to worry about it yet. And then to round it out with the last pick of the draft, I picked Akeem Dent, a safety out of Florida State. I could do it. JT, do you want to read your own mock?
Sure.
Yeah.
So with my first pick, I picked Troy Fatanu, left tackle, who's going to move inside to guard out of Washington. Second round, I picked edge rusher Austin Booker out of Kansas. Third round, I picked nickel corner Mikey Sanderstil out of Michigan. Fourth round, much like Garrett, I picked Ricky Pearsall out of Florida. Sixth round, I picked Kamani Vidal, running back out of Troy. Seventh round, I picked Rasheen Ali, running back out of Marshall. And seventh round, I picked Cornelius Johnson, speedster wide receiver out of Michigan.
There we go. Those are our 2 picks, our 2 drafts. Oh my God, I forgot to say one.
What would you forget to say?
I forgot a pick.
Everyone on your graphic is said.
I know, but I forgot to add it there too.
Damn. So who'd you forget?
I picked Renardo Green, another Florida State DB corner.
There you go, Florida State fans. You can never say that Garrett is biased. He picked twice as many Seminoles as he did Gators.
I think what happened is I made the graphic earlier in the week, and then they might have released projected comp picks, and that got added to the simulator. I don't know. We'll figure it out. It's okay.
I'm going to tweet it as is because...
Yeah, I don't care. It's fine. I didn't make a trade. Just imagine it's that. I didn't make a trade. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Creamsicle Chronicles podcast. As always, we appreciate you guys listening. We hope you enjoyed the mock draft special. We'll be back next week with a combine preview, looking at some guys that we are going to be paying close attention to, and maybe some guys that we think could test really well that are under the radar. We look forward to the next episode next week at same time, Friday at 9:30 p.m. Hope y'all will join us then. And as always, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.